Now, as the tech industry continues to grow and evolve, the opportunities within this sector are vast and diverse. Now, whether you are a recent graduate, a mid-career professional looking to make a change, or someone looking to transition entirely into a tech-focused role, this tech industry offers a wide range of opportunities for career growth and development. Now, the industry offers a myriad of opportunities for career growth as well as development. By consulting with a tech analyst and asking the right questions, individuals can gain a better understanding of the current landscape of the industry and also identify the potential pathways for success. But not to worry, we have brought the tech analyst to you since you refused to go to one. Just joking. Anyways, joining me today is a tech analyst all the way from Abuja, Nigeria, Nosike Nwigene. Thank you so much, Nosike, for joining us. And I hope I got the name right.
Yeah, Yeah, Nosike Nwigene. So yeah, you got it.
It can be better. All right, thank you so much. Now, as a tech analyst, right, I'm sure that you're very familiar with the opportunities there are, in the tech industry. Even without being an analyst, it's quite obvious that that's where a lot of people are gravitating towards because they see visible opportunities, visible results from those who either transition into tech or those who have a career in tech. Now, my first question is going to be, what are the current trends and the advancements that are shaping the tech industry? Because I know that the tech industry has been for a long time, but recently there's been that, there's been a whole craze for tech. Everybody wants to do tech, even people that have no idea what tech is all about. But it's like there's a new wave of people migrating into the tech industry and trying to make it big there. So what is that change that has made that happen?
Okay, so I think we need to approach it from like a top-down view, right? And you need to understand that, Nigeria's tech, I'm going to use Nigeria for the purpose of this conversation, right? Our tech sector acts as a powerful engine for economic growth. So you have the startups providing local solutions to local problems. And like any other company, you need everyone from an admin to, office support staff, right? Assuming typical office roles. Now, as broadband penetration increases and we have more access to the internet, we have younger people coming online daily, you'll find that, like you've said, there's a lot of more interest in tech more than usual. A lot of people typically think it's just coding. I'm sure everyone knows about software development, and people hear programmers and they think, oh yes, I need to learn how to code. No, startups have marketers, storytellers, people like in operations. There's also other roles in cybersecurity, data science, UI UX design, digital marketing, which is quite common, in our sphere here. And while there's been a funding downturn, you will still find, early stage startups emerging that need, typically young people to help build that dream. And, while you have coders, once again, who program this, who build and code, there's a symphony of other skilled individuals required, business strategists, designers, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's pretty much, I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does, very much so. Thank you so much. Also, I think I would also like to narrow it down a little to finding out which of the tech niches now or specializations are currently in high demand, because a lot of people seem to think that it's just everything about tech, but there are certain, specializations in tech that a lot of people are gravitating more towards.
Yeah. So once again, I'm sure you're quite aware with, the craze about coding and programming, right? So that's, typically the most in demand because you need to build, right? But when you build, you need to go to the market. So you need sales guys, you need marketing guys, you need design guys, you need operators, you need stakeholder engagement, which is kind of like what I do with strategic communications for tech startups. Mm-hmm. You even need investor relations because a lot of startups are funded and have to deal with their VCs. You also need regulatory and policy facing skill sets, right? So you can see that it's not typically anyone can work in the tech sector. You just don't have to have a specialized technical skill set that's limited to coding or cybersecurity, that sort of thing. Now, while once again, coding is always in demand, there are other support roles that any young person who intends to get into the tech sector can follow through with. So I've mentioned, I'm going to give an example. I work in what you would say consider storytelling. For a Flutterwave, for example, or Helium Health, any of the household names that we know, to talk about their products and gain more users, they need people to communicate what they do well in a way the audience understands, right? So if you're a writer, you work in media, you enjoy media facing work, or you're a content creator, you like to make videos, right? There's a perfect opportunity for you to improve those skill sets and transition into the tech sector. So once again, we're not just talking about coders and programmers. There's way more to go with. I can list out quite a few. I mentioned business strategists. Even just need like typical admin staff in the office. Someone needs to pay salaries, right? So it's quite large. When tech is, it's a broad sector, right? So it's large. And one thing I can speak of is that the more young people build their critical thinking skills, right? Have a I can do everything mindset, right? It will be possible and very easy for them to transition.
Okay, so I see that there is a desire to transition into tech, but another thing that we don't exactly understand is how exactly did the demand for tech professionals come about? Or I wouldn't say come about because it's been in existence, but how has it evolved so much that people now need a lot of these tech guys to do the job? Is it as a result of the invention of AI? Is it technological advancement? Is it how is it that it just there was an influx of demand on the tech guys?
I think what happened, the tech craze, if you will, started not long before, but significantly before AI became a thing. So of course, AI is even a very valid niche to get into. But as far as Africa's tech ecosystem goes, there was a funding boom, over like say these last 6-7 years, where a lot of people looked inward and said, listen, we have all these problems there, either in fintech with finance, in tech with insurance, health tech, edu tech, basically using tech to improve services that we're all used to already, right? And with an increase in funding and the need to solve local problems with nuance, right, came other investment. So investment being that VCs funded startups that they saw had the potential to provide real impact and change, right? And with all of that going on, these startups set up shop and they needed everybody from once again, developers, designers, because you're going to build a product, right? You're going to think through the product. You're going to consider, the pros and cons of rolling out the product in a certain way. And there's all sorts of thinking behind that move. And so the money came, the investments came. And with that, the startups were empowered to go forth and find solutions to problems. And with that, they needed people because only one person can build a house, right? You'll agree with me. So we now saw a lot of people like myself over the last, say, 7-8 years say, hey, I have these skill sets or I have this interest in learning and I feel like I can apply a lot of my drive to these fields. So, with that, we now found that a lot of people got into tech. So there's a whole time where, not so much now, but, maybe 4 or 5 years ago when everyone was going, hey, tech is a new old job, especially within the Nigerian context. So a lot of people acquired new skill sets and immersed themselves in these new opportunities that we found. So that's kind of like why we got here. So yes, some technological advancement, also following global trends, a lot of capital inflow into our economy, that was portion for tech solutions. So a combination of factors got us here. But what's going on now is that it is here to stay. And you'll find that even companies that don't describe themselves as startups apply tech-enabled solutions to, or integrate tech into their solution offerings for either consumers or other businesses.
All right, thank you for that, and I think that makes a whole lot of sense. Now looking at, especially for people who are looking to transition from one completely different occupation to another or into tech, right? A lot of them struggle. They get into tech without proper knowledge, proper insight as to what tech is all about and the different facets of it. They just get into tech, pick the first best thing that they come across, and then at the end of the day, they end up struggling. So I think it's good to ask, how exactly do you think that individuals can determine the right tech opportunities or tech niche that relates to their skill set, or at least something they can learn that, would advance their career goals so that they don't end up struggling?
That's a wonderful question. You're very right. Even I've had peers, right, who, jumped in and they were like, hey, I'm in the wrong room. And, the sunk cost, they had taken a lot of time, invested time in this, and then, they're in places where they're like, hey, I'm struggling here. I think the first step is talk to people and good conversations around this. So New Central is doing a great job of bringing this to light. There's always someone you can reach out to, or a resource you can access online, right? That, is like your first touch point. In other words, if you find that you're design, like you find that you like design interfaces, you like to design things, for example, you're artistic and you're curious about how products come to life visually, you could probably just say, hey, I like to draw, I like to what creative niches are there within tech, and UI UX will come to mind basically, right? Because UI UX it's about the interface, how users engage a product, an app, a tool, right? It's not a straightforward answer, but I can say that it starts first of all from conversations, and then from asking, and then research. If you have like younger ones, undergrads, for example, who are exploring tech, I think watching tons of videos can help. We had startups like Andela who helped enrich the pipeline and have train people, and lots of other ecosystem players are in the pipeline business. In other words, finding people and moving them through, equipping them to survive. But I think once again, research, ask questions, more research, and then don't be afraid to reach out to people. In fact, in many cases, like you might have to find a mentor, someone who could guide me through. So I mean that I feel will refine your approach and equip you. Will refine your approach and equip you for whatever it is you want to end up. There's a lot of boot camps in place, right? Today, a lot of online learning programs where you come in, they walk you through what you need to do and the skill sets you need to enhance or improve on to enter certain places. I think kind of like any other field in life, by the time you go through these conversations, go through this back and forth with all these resources, then I think you can now understand, okay, maybe I'm in the wrong sphere and I should consider this instead.
Okay, so there's also I don't know whether to call it misconception, because I also need clarity on that. So a lot of people believe that here in Nigeria or Africa as a whole, there is a limit to the level of tech advancement that you can make, regardless of the training, regardless of the whatever it is that you expose yourself to learning from, right? You see a lot of tech people, not all of them, and this is not to say that there are no tech people in Africa that are not doing well, but most of the time, more often than not, you see a lot of people who are only maybe software designers, which is also a good thing, but graphic designers, just on the surface thing. But a lot of them have this mindset of, until I go to like a Silicon Valley, for example, I won't be able to code better, I wouldn't be a better tech person. And then you now see if you juxtapose both side by side, people that have gone outside the country for training, it's like they have an in-depth knowledge of tech and they do like bigger tech stuff, so to say, compared to those in Africa. Is that true? And if it is, what are the limiting factors for tech enthusiasts or, tech people basically in Africa?
Yeah. A lot of times at Inside Up here, we like to, in our inside conversations, we like to say that talent is equally distributed, but opportunities are not, right? That means there's a lot of people across the world, right? Irrespective of your country, your region, that want to and are equipped and can do the best jobs at the highest level. But like the question you're asking me now, what is the problem? Entry, right? And kind of like the refinement. I feel like the way we need to approach this is, and this is in like from people on tech on the other side, the tech side, is if we're going to increase the pipeline of people, the pipeline of talent, right? We need to open our doors more, right? Create avenues through which these guys can access us or programs better and improve. Now, you mentioned there's people on the surface level, right? Look, I believe that these people are on this level because of they haven't really found that rope that they can tug and can take them to the next level. And there's a lot of programs in place that try and reduce the tech talent shortage, but we still need to provide avenues for to assimilate these enthusiasts. It's not easy. It's kind of like, we talk about it like it's tech and it's unique, but this is across many other fields, right? Petroleum engineering, many technical fields. We struggle to transition people from like the bare minimum to where they are equipped to work anywhere in the world, especially with the creation of remote work these days. I want to say that it's quite a complicated issue. But if on the government side, on the private sector side, we can, and even with the tertiary institutions, universities, polytechnics, right? We all, cohesively figure out ways to find these talents, right? And, move them through the pipeline. We need to do that. It has to be done. Because you're not going to blame a 5-year-old kid for not knowing how to drive, right? There's no way to learn, but you're a teenager, you're equipped, and I say, oh, fine, it's time for driving school. They have to go to driving school. And what if there's no driving school around them, right? Also, there's also the primary issue, which is the cost of internet access. You typically need a YouTube or consistent internet access to access many of these talent pipeline programs. And I don't know if you know this, but Africa's we pay the highest internet cost as relative to our income globally. So that means that the average Nosike in the tier 2, tier 3 city can't even get any learning done because he cannot access the internet the way you and I do. So that now takes us back to what broadband penetration, improving access to the internet, providing internet on underserved areas so that these kids this graphic designer who likes to design things can find a YouTube video and it doesn't cost him, half his pocket money just so that he can improve his skills. So there's a lot of work, around partnering, the stakeholders partnering, providing broadband access, internet access, especially to schools and, tertiary institutions, to parks, so that kids can access the internet and learn and improve. But, outside all of this, guidance is important, right?
Okay, speaking of guidance, I think I'm going to toe that line and talk about some of the few tech-focused initiatives that I've heard about, especially in Africa. I'm not going to talk about whether or not the government is doing what. That's conversation for another day. But my focus is. Yeah, my focus is when it comes to guidance, right? It's easy to say that, okay, you want to enable youth, help them, organize trainings, tech trainings that would expose them more, to the tech world. And so they can choose the niche and then start working on that and making money or making ends meet for themselves. But it's also there's a thin line between enabling these youths to, understand tech and, learn how to use tech and build a business or a brand out of it, and enabling internet fraudsters, hackers, and the likes, right? So a lot of youth, I'm not generalizing, but there are people who, even though, tech can be a money-making venture depending on how you go about it, some people are not patient enough to do the hard work. So they're learning it with the mindset of, if I can just scam somebody now, if I can just hack into someone, a program, a database or something, and before you know it, we're having more internet fraudsters to deal with. We're having more hackers to deal with, to and things like that. So how do we create the balance? How do we draw the line between enabling tech for the young generation and preventing this from becoming a criminal occupation?
Yes, that's a brilliant question. And can I be honest when I say I don't have the answer? But yeah, I don't have the answer.
Trust me, there's no definite answer, but at least in your own opinion, what do you think?
I'll go personal, right? And this is, we all come from Nigerian families, so you will understand this context. I had been in digital marketing for maybe 9, 10 years, maybe 12, and then found my, because I always wrote, right? I found myself doing tech PR, right? And when I got into remote work and I also played around data analysis, all that stuff, I would have artists reach out to me, hey, your little cousin is at home and he knows you're always on the computer. What kind of guidance can you offer him? And even till today, I'm connecting them to other friends, in their chosen fields or that kind of like mentors. Why? Because of I'm in the room and I understand the best way to direct them. Now, I can't speak for everyone, but I can tell you that in my case, I follow through. Hey, what are you learning? Oh, you're learning JavaScript. Wonderful. What have you learned? Have you spoken to the person I introduced you to? What would you say is stopping you from reaching the targets you've set out for you? So on my own little way, in my little sphere, I can control my thinking so that my undergraduate cousin doesn't decide that his internet I've provided for him is to learn how to scam other people, right? And also, don't forget that it takes intelligence to do a lot of the criminal things that are done. And with the right guidance, all of that can be guided into the right direction. So speaking for myself, I can say watch your young ones, watch your siblings. Not everyone has that. Not even every young person has an older brother, an older sister, or father, mother, uncle, auntie figure to look up to who is in the tech space. But later at the time, teachers also have a big role to play. Parents as well. If your kids tell you, listen, Dad, I'm learning how to code on the phone, check them every 20 minutes or 30 minutes, every 1 hour and see what they're doing. Test them, right? Also, I find that I encourage a lot of young people saying, listen, right, you might not earn as much as if you were fraudulent, right? But this is honest good wage, and the sky is your limit. And if you learn these skills with the internet provided for you, or the access provided for you, or the guidance provided for you, right, you will never have to ask for money or beg for money a day in your life. Kind of like every other legitimate profession that we have out there, right? So I can't tell you that I can find the fine balance between helping lots of our young transition into tech and watching so that a few of them don't end up in the bad side. Because you are right. Cybersecurity track could easily become a hacker. And that now means our banks are in trouble, right? And also, we need to stop looking at tech as this disastrous thing, because kind of like cars help with transportation, logistics, they move food, they move people. But criminals still use cars to move around. Are we going to ban cars? We just find a way to balance it out so that, you understand, people who are taking the cars to the right place to get there on time. And then we find a way to get the bad eggs who are still using cars to move around. I don't know if that analogy makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the summary of that is don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The fact that it has some disadvantages doesn't mean it's totally bad. But I mean, it's obvious that tech is here to stay, right? So from your own analysis, where do you see technology in the next, say, 5 years, especially in Africa, when we maximize the tech potential? Already there's like 90% of companies who need tech included solutions for their businesses. So where do we see the youth and tech as relating to businesses in the next, say, 5 years?
Okay, so you mentioned earlier about AI, right? That's changing the game plan. And honestly, no one knows where it's going. But we do know now that artificial intelligence as a subset of tech, right, is going to be integrated into our daily lives. With more of this technology available, companies like you've mentioned, businesses, daily people are going to integrate tech into the solutions. You want to save money, you use PiggyVest or any of the competition. You want to invest, you use RiceVest or Bamboo. We're all using these tools. Some of these tools are going to be part of our lives. And that means that tech is going to be more important to you and I on a personal level, right? And then businesses, for example, who use cloud services on a much more broader level. So tech is going to insert itself into our lives, even in Nigeria here, right? Already mobile penetration is increasing. Every day more people have access to the internet and are using it for entertainment, are using it for fun, using it to connect to friends, right? We are going to find that a lot more people are going to be using it for more quote unquote serious things. And the more people that use these things for more serious things, the more it's going to be a more important part of our lives. So even within Africa here, where we don't particularly lead in research or development of these tools, tech is going to first of all, can also help us, minimize the gap with, typically more advanced economies if we employ it well. But it's here to stay. It's going to give us an upper edge, and we can't run away from it. So the minister, Bosun Tijani, for example, it talks about a lot of programs that he's trying to integrate so that we provide the frameworks and necessary policies, kind of like the Startup Act, for example, so that when these things come, we're ready for them. We have laws that guide us, and then we can tweak these laws as time goes on. The truth is, we're never going to run away from this, and it's like literally right in our front, right? So I say with that, I think we should put our minds to it, understand that this is an opportunity, not a barrier, right? And do everything within our power on the talent side, on the policy side, on the on the guidance side, if you will, in fact, to ensure that we understand that this thing is here to stay, and figure out, okay, what are the best ways we can use to develop our economy, develop our society, get our kids jobs, get companies more efficient solutions to their issues, that sort of thing.
All right, very insightful conversation. Thank you very much, Nosike Nwigene, tech analyst all the way from Abuja, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for giving us insight into the tech world.
Awesome. Cheers, and thank you as well.